What is up, and welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Savage Strikers. We are here in Jake's preseason, I'd like to call it. Jake, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Savs. Yeah, we kind of say it every year that BBL I kind of go my best at, so the rest of it's all me off season. But I mean, yeah, it BBL's for some reason I've always gone pretty good at it. Mikey's gone pretty good as well, and for you, who's probably the big cricket fan of the group, is the one that doesn't go as well as us, which is I find quite bizarre.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. I think in past, I look at my strategy and I look too far into Sheffield Shield form, Marsh Cup form, and all that sort of stuff. But the Matt Shorts of the world, the Jake Fraser McGurks, all that sort of stuff, they tend to come big on the big stage in the BBL. And I look too far into what I know behind the scenes, and I think you've got to go off these seasoned veterans. Matt Short has proved in the past that in the last two seasons, he's probably the best BBL Supercoach player of all time at this stage. I know it's only been 13 years at the competition and 6 or 7 years of BBL Supercoach, so it's not much to go off. But like, he was someone who I didn't necessarily think was a great cricketer prior to that, but I think you've really got to. A lot of these guys do have big raps on them coming through the grades and all that sort of stuff. And maybe what they show at the Sheffield Shield level is not quite what they have, what they're touted for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean. I mean, you look at all the other forms of the game. It's T20 so different, I guess, and it looks, it comes across like that. I guess the big ones that you kind of look for is the IPL. I know they have a comps. Well, they have comps all around the world, but I think the English one's pretty big as well, which I think was pretty recent. So looking at all the format in there, and I guess previous seasons as well. I mean, we're going to get to it, but I think when the app did open, a lot of it was, who are the fallen guns, who are the value guys, and we will go through that in this pod, as well as, I guess, the schedule.
Yeah, I guess first of all, before we go through the schedule, who are three players that you are very keen on, and three players just straight off the top of the bat that were non-negotiables for you?
Well, the very first thing I look at is the schedule. Every season it's chase the doubles. You've got two lots of scores in that, and then kind of planning your next couple of trades around that. So, I mean, Stars and Renegades are heavily owned by everyone, so those are the other ones. But I guess more left field picks, ones that outside of those guys, I'm really keen on Edwards from the Sixers. I think he at back end of last year, Jack Edwards, sorry, back end of last year, he was batting near the top, bowling 4 overs. I think he could have a really key role, and at 136k. I think he could be a really, the guy that goes to the next level in terms of Supercoach BBL. So he was one that I'm really keen on. Sean Abbott was another one, but I kind of don't want two of them because they don't have a buy till a bit later. I mean, obviously not buy, a double, sorry. When the double comes, I'll probably have both those guys, but Sean Abbott, another guy that, a down season last year. So he's one guy that you expect to, go back to the, 4 or 5 seasons that he was having before that, averaging 60 to 70. So I expect a bounce back from him. And I guess outside of that, another guy who I'm keen on, Jai Richardson, for the same reason as Abbott, a fallen gun. A lot of it is doubles and then guys that I see a lot of value in, and ones that have scored average 60s and 70s in the past, who are now averaged at like a 40, 45. I think they're, present heaps of value. What about you, Sast?
Yeah, it's funny you speak about the fallen guns because I feel like the whole field is fallen guns nearly. Like, there are a lot of players that did not perform well last year. There was Matt Short, and I think that's about it. That is at a massive premium price. You've obviously got your Glenn Maxwell's, your Tom Currans, who when they're in, they perform well, but no one really went to that next level. And Matt Short was that only guy. In previous years, we've had, Jai Rich and Sean Abbott really be up there. But for their standard, they had pretty bad years last year. And I do expect a bounce back from them. But as you said, the Renegades and the Stars have the double first up. I'm pretty much on the same page with you with players that I like. But Melbourne Renegades and the Stars have the double the first up. The Strikers have the double in the second round, and so do the Scorchers. The funny thing about this year, there's only 3 buys, like in total. So the only teams to have buys are the Renegades in round 3, the Strikers in round 6, and the Stars in round 8. So we don't really have to worry about buys too much throughout this year, which is a massive plus.
And I mean, the first couple of rounds, there's a lot of doubles, but kind of after round 5, there's only 2 teams that have a double after that. So there's not as many doubles and there's not many buys. I think the season is shorter than last season. Yeah. So, I mean, they've cut it down. I think they've kind of got that, the seasons have been too long because it interferes with all the other, T20 comps around the world. So I think they've shortened it for that reason. And yeah, for SuperCoach purposes, I think especially the last half of the season, it's going to be less about chasing the doubles and more about just getting the guys that will click in the one round.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, the fact that there are no doubles late on. Do you feel like you need to go hard at the doubles early on? This is early tactic talk.
I mean, absolutely. Everyone who's going to be serious scoring is going to be targeting the doubles because you've got 2 plays at it over a guy that has one. I mean, Matt Short's still a chance of outscoring anyone on a double just for his one game. But, I mean, that's one play. Everyone else is kind of having 2, bites of the cherry is going to be key. And every season it's proven that chase the doubles, look at schedule. Doesn't really matter on matchup. I know there's going to be teams that are, bad. And then there's, going to be the Scorchers and probably the Sixers who are going to, dominate the comp. But you can't really look at matchup because it's just anyone's really going to score anything on a day. It's, getting the value guys, getting the cheap guys, and then chasing the doubles.
A new flex player has been added into BBL SuperCoach, which is a 12th player on field. So you get your best 11 players out of 12. And I guess just early talk on NRL SuperCoach for next year. I actually like this as a HIA substitution rather than having a clear-cut HIA rule. So, like, say there's a HIA within 20 minutes or something, and you get the nominated player on the bench. I actually like the flex of your flex player coming in, or just the top 11 every week, or top 17 for SuperCoach. But I actually really like this concept, and I guess I like it. Jake, from your point of view, how do you exploit it?
I mean, you kind of get a free shot at a high ceiling sort of player, I guess. So throwing in a batsman into, you got 12 instead of 11 players, and one of them will obviously go out. So I guess the batsmen have a chance at. I mean, they have the lowest ceiling. 0 pretty much, and then they have the highest ceiling, so they're going to go from 0 to potentially 120 if they score on a 50 at a quick notch. So I don't know, man. It's so new, and like you did touch on the NRL, I think that they are trialing this in probably the BBL. I think they've brought in the BBL because of all the rained out games is probably one thing that kind of ruins it for a lot of it. Not so much HIAs because I mean that really happens in cricket. So I think it's something that they could consider bringing in for the NRL. I know a lot of people are, trying to persuade them to bring in a HIA player, like you mentioned. And I think this could be a good way in terms of NRL to bring it in. But I guess BBL, I don't know. I don't really know how to exploit it. Obviously, we've still got the whole bench player looping in. You kind of get a free run at seeing a player early over a later player as long as you got a non-playing player. But having the whole flex play, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting because I guess you can also move that player anywhere around the field. Like it's a free flex spot. So I don't know, Saz, what are your thoughts on how you can potentially?
Yeah, I've tried to think of ways to exploit it and what sort of players to put there, because it really feels like you should. Oh, Jake, we've gone missing. Your camera's gone. He's gone. No, he's back. He's back. He's back, but he's gone still. His screen's stuck. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go on the other camera. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, interesting.
Sorry, now I look like I'm 4K.
Yeah, I guess I don't know where to put this flex player and what to put there. At the moment, I've got, I guess, early thoughts into my team. I got Bo Webster there, and I feel like he's only there because he feels like he's the perfect flex player at the moment. And that's just like first team draft thoughts of having Bo Webster there. But I really think that it just depends who is your fourth batsman or your fourth bowler. I think that really depends. You can put whoever you want in your flex position. It just depends on who is on field for you. And I think you've got to identify every week who's my risky player that I'm going to play. It doesn't have to be in the flex position. I just feel like the flex is a good spot to have a dual position. So maybe the flex has to be someone who is dual position so you can swap it around when you can.
Well, I think the flex is probably the place you'd put your best player, because you can't really move them with, say, a reserved player as well. So I guess an early playing player, because you can't. Well, I guess you can move them, but once they've played, they're kind of locked in. So I mean, I'd probably be playing, Max Short or Glenn Maxwell my flex, because I can't really loop them in from the bench or take them out from a bench player. So early thoughts, I think that's what way I will go. But I mean, it's something really new, very different for SuperCoach. So it's something that it's going to win or lose, I think.
Yeah, the good thing is I've just checked on the app, and with the flex player, you can just swap them to anybody, like as long as they can go back into that position.
Yeah, back to that same position.
I think maybe you put an all-rounder that's willing to start there. So you've got the flex of moving them if you need to, but it's probably better off just having a look at your team structure at the start of the week and seeing how you go. We've got some questions here on YouTube. Help with the rain games. Flex says Kane Trainer. Global says, g'day there, lads. We've got some people tuning in. Global says it would be nice if NBL had a flex for laid outs. How are you going in the NBL, Jake? Going all right?
Okay. I think I'm about 500th, I think. So for a game I don't watch or know nothing about, considering that a tick mark.
I actually think I'm going all right, considering I don't watch the game.
You're actually sticking with it this season. I think you gave up after 2 rounds last year.
I'm ranked 3,765, and I'm having a good week this week. I've actually probably won more head-to-head matchups than I've lost. So hopefully we can keep this form up. Kane Trainer, I would like a flex for Milton Doyle. What does that mean?
That's an NBL player. That's an NBL. There's a lot of NBL chatter.
That's fair. We've also got Global. I'll be starting Inglis wicket keeper as my flex.
Keeper batsman.
It's an interesting one. I've got Inglis in my side as a batsman with 2 other keepers, but I feel like I like having him there. I don't think I'd want him as a flex because I feel like the keeper, when we get into it, it is a pretty light position. But let's go into our starting sides. Jake, I want you to read out your wicket keepers.
Well, like as a starting keeper, I only have one, which is Duckett, and then I have kind of a non-playing one, an NPR, and that'll then flick with whatever batsman I have. It's kind of my VC loop kind of thing, having a non-playing player at backup keeper, because, like you said, the keepers are pretty thin, and you can't kind of loop back in through a keeper. So I think it's a kind of a dead position having a second one there, as long as you have a wicket keeper batsman in your batsman spot, or in Global's case, in their flex, just somewhere else in the team that you can, flick back up. So I've got Duckett, and then Doran at the moment's there, but that's because he's the cheapest.
Why do you like
someone who's not going to play is what I'm going to have?
Why do you like Duckett?
Well, to be boring, which is probably going to be the ongoing theme, double. And I'm pretty sure is going to open the batting for the Stars. And he also has a double in round 3 as well. So that kind of helps with, I'll probably keep him till round 3.
Yep, that's fair enough. I like that shout. He's playing for the Stars. I've got Sam Harper in my reserves at the moment with Ben Duckett. I think with availabilities, it's very tricky to keep on top of, but we do have a little schedule thing here. So England, there's only 2 England players that will be under what's the word, doubt for the start of the season, and that is Pope and Duckett. They've got that's just if he plays the test matches, which he has been playing the test matches. So I guess we'll see how that turns out. But if he's in your starting spot at the moment, then I think that's fair enough. I've got Ben McDermott in my wicket keeper spot. I think he will bat 4 this year. He's a gun of the past, and he just scored 88 on the weekend in Sheffield Shield. So I like McDermott and Harper as potential combo, but I feel like I want to sit on your side of the fence of just spending low there because I don't think it's a high upside position.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, you prefer to have one wicket keeper as a starting guy who's playing a double and then not really worry about it. I mean, they get one shot at bat in one game and may take 1 or 2 catches. Like it's not they're all kind of the same. It's just depending on how well they bat. So you want someone who's batting right at the top, and preferably he's playing a double. And if that Duckett's not playing, then he'll disappear to
we've got
Seifert or whatever his name is from the Renegades.
Yeah, Tim Seifert. We've got Kane Trainer. I heard Duckett doesn't start, and Global says fairly sure Duckett is injured. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Obviously, as closer.
We've got plenty of time till the start of the season.
Yeah, exactly. These are our first drafts. Josh Felipe is someone in the past who has got BBL player of the tournament. He's always good option in a lot of people's teams every single year. Have you considered him at all? Because I feel like as an opening batsman keeper, he's probably a better option than someone who's batting down the order and playing 2 games. But hopefully we do get a Tim Seifert or a Sam Harper batting up the order if Duckett doesn't play.
Even we've had the last 2 years of Sam Harper batting anyway at the top, and it's still pretty much a duck egg. So not someone I really am. I mean, I've been burned by him. I don't really want to be going there as well. But I mean, yeah, regardless of keeper, you want someone batting right at the top of the order. So Felipe, I think Inglis bats at 3 or 4. So that's someone to consider as well. But yeah, you want someone batting up the top without question, rather than someone batting at 7, because you have to have a scoring keeper somewhere. You'd rather have someone that's a keeper and also bats at the top.
All right, Jake, your batsman.
Now, it's tricky because the big one is, do you start Matt Short or do you not start Matt Short? Obviously, needing for round 2 and round 4.
But he could lose a lot of money. He could lose a lot of money.
He could lose a lot of cash because cash does change in the first round, unlike SuperCoach NRL, where it changes after 3 rounds. It changes after 1. So he could lose a bit of cash, and the jump from, say, Maxwell to Matt Short will be a lot easier. But Maxwell, he's my first player picked, plays a doubles, probably going to be most captained. He's kind of I consider him a must-have in this situation. Will bowl, good with a bat, scores at a quick notch. So definitely him. I've got Matt Short in there at the moment, but I mean, the big one's going to be where do I spend my cash if I don't go him. Also to have 50K left over to go Maxwell to Matt Short. Other ones are Curran. Will Sutherland is the one I'm pretty keen on.
Oh, yes.
He wasn't bowling a lot last year. Well, he was bowling some, but not his 4 overs. But I've looked at the Renegades and who they've kind of bought, that they could run with the 5 bowlers and he be one. And then he can push up and be like devastating with the bat. So I do like him. And then I've got Josh Brown in there as well from the Renegades as a bit of a, Hail Mary batsman. We saw the damage he did at the end of the season for the Heat. So hopefully he carries on to the Renegades.
Josh Brown is that perfect type of player to utilize the flex with, just because he can get out early, or he could go big. So it doesn't really matter if he doesn't do well in a single game week, but like he does have the double game week, so gets 2 bites at the cherry. I guess my side is kind of similar. I got Short, Maxwell, Curran. I think they're probably. I guess you can debate whether to start Short or not. He just played in the Australian one-day match, which is going currently, and got out quite cheaply. So maybe it looks like into the BBL, he'll be going in limited form, which is always good to see for an expensive player like Matt Short. But we know Matt Short, once he gets to BBL level, it's like an adult playing under 10s cricket. He is an absolute weapon. So I'm starting with Matt Short. I'm just round 2 and round 4, he has a double. So I'm pretty happy just to lock him in and have him in my side. Obviously, Curran, I'm starting with David Warner. I think there's not that many top order batsmen that can go really well to start the year. I haven't really loaded up my side completely with Stars and Renegades. I've got a good mix of both because I feel like I don't like doubling up on average players. I like your Josh Brown shout, but I think I'm going to reassess and see what the orders look like at the start of the tournament. Josh Inglis is my last batsman on field. I think he's a good shout. And on my bench, I've got Nick Manson, should open the batting or bat 3 for Sydney Thunder. And I've got a bit of a smoky here, Mitch Owen for the Renegades.
Mitch from the gate.
Yeah. I think he has a good role for the Hurricanes this year. I think.
I mean, he has shown flashes. So I mean, if he finds his way anywhere at the top of that order, he's a good shout because he does bowl a bit as well. So he's a bit of an all rounder.
Yes, bowl some overs. There's massive raps on him at Tasmania. I think he'll get a few overs in, but good chance he opens the batting too because I think McDermott goes down to number 4. Jules stays opener and Wade comes in at number 3.
Ooh. Well, mate, if that is correct, Mitch Owen will be heavily owned by a lot of people, and Savs he's got the jump on everyone. So he's using that cricket knowledge and stuff for good now.
Hey. Who's on your bench? Or are they just
no, I've got Madison as well, and at the moment just kind of a 50k player, just nobody, but will kind of fit in that kind of price range, hopefully. I mean, Mitch Owen, perfect. What's he priced at?
58,000. So is Nick Madison. So I like them as my bench players, and hopefully Mitch Owen can kick on, and he will potentially be someone you can play in your 17. Do we have reserves? We've still got emergencies, which is good. All right, bowlers. I've got Kane Richardson, starting with Richardson, Zampa, Stoinis. I think he is another fallen gun. Not getting many overs, not batting up the order. He's batting 4 or 5, so there is a bit of risk there. But are we banking on the name here, Jake?
I think so. I mean, every year we all pick him because he's cheap, and then every year he gets cheaper and cheaper. But I mean, he's bowled a bit last year, which is, I guess, promising signs. I think with the flex and the fact you can also loop him in at that price, I think it's a low risk play to go with him. More so than, more riskier than going without him, especially on a double. I mean, if he's, bowling 2-3 overs, getting a couple of wickets, the Stars historically lose their whole batting lineup before the 12th over. So there's a good chance he gets a bat somewhere. So I don't mind Stoinis. I do have him as well as either like a flex or like a loop-in sort of player on my bench if he does go well in the first game.
Yeah, I think at the price, it's worth the risk. He'll be highly owned, and obviously he's another player. It's funny how long BBL has gone because we've mentioned players like McDermott, Felipe, Stoinis, Short for 2 years. Like they're all the players of the years, and we can all remember that. And how good their years were. So it's funny how SuperCoach.
Well, it wasn't too many years ago that Stoinis was basically what Matt Short is now.
Yeah.
He was scoring 150 points, SuperCoach points in one game.
Exactly.
He was bowling 4 and opening the batting. But that's what old age does to you, doesn't it?
It does. I've also got Joel Davies in my starting side at 58,000. I think him / Jack Edwards are good shouts. I don't know if Joel Davies kicks on. I think I like Jack Edwards a lot more, but obviously with having Short in my side, I've got to cut funds in certain positions. I've got Ben Menenti as my last player. He's moved back over to the Sixers, and He started with the Adelaide Strikers and didn't really get a crack up, but the Sixers loved him, and he can bat a little bit. So if there is some early wickets, then he can really do a serviceable job with the bat. He plays for South Australia. He got 62 runs today with the bat, 20 in his second inning. Sorry, 20 in his first innings. He got 5 wickets in his first innings of bowling, 62 not out in his second innings. And for his second innings of bowling, he got 1 for 27. So maybe this is me looking too much into the Sheffield Shield once again. And it feels like he does this to me every year. But I think the Sixers will give him a lot more respect as a role. Steve O'Keefe not there. And they probably won't have the luxury of line coming in too much. I guess the issue will be, do they play Todd Murphy? Or
Yeah.
if Tom Murphy plays, does he still play? So I think there's a chance maybe if he plays one game, he could get dropped for the next to have a bit of a rotation policy with pace and spin, depending on the wickets. But I like him if he gets a go, which I'm pretty confident he might.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of these players are, if they get the role, you're going to do it. I think the fact that he's very, for me, when I'm looking at it, and it's kind of been he's down 4 in the last couple of years, he's always going to be the first player to kind of fall out of any bowler. So if they're going with someone else, it's always going to be Ben Menanti that falls out. So you don't want to be caught late if the Sixers play, a late game. Oh, crap, I can't play Ben Menanti now, who I'm just going to cop whatever emergency or I've got. So I'd rather have someone that's a bit more nailed, in their own side than going with someone who, more upside, but, I'd rather someone score 10 than a 0.
Yeah, agree. I think there's definitely a lot of fine tuning that has to go into my side at the moment. But yeah, on the bench, I got Doggett, who's gone over to the Strikers. Wes Agar has signed with Sydney Thunder, so there's a position there for him. And I got Will Presswidge for the Brisbane Heat. I think they're just placeholders at the moment until we find out more. Who are your bowlers?
Well, like I said, Jack Edwards, I've locked him in. Henry Thornton, I've got in there with the Strikers having a double in round 2. So I guess what I'm doing is filling in my, single game player weeks as ones that will have the double next week. So if my team's kind of in a bit of strife, I don't have to, sacrifice, I guess, next week by going, by getting rid of the crap for other players sort of thing. And then, you probably go and get dropped anyway. But Kane Richardson and Zampa I've got as well, like you. I'm looking at the Hurricanes. I'm looking at Peter Dooley or Meredith. And I'm surprised you didn't go Meredith because you seem to love this bloke and have him every single year. So I'm surprised you didn't go Riley Meredith. I think he's both priced at like 80K. The fact that the Hurricanes don't really have any doubles, which is a bit disadvantage. But I think they're two guys that are a bit undervalued, in my opinion. I mean, Peter Dooley was, 190K or something last year.
Paddy Dooley.
Dooley, sorry. Peter Dooley.
Yeah, it's funny. Meredith is one I have had a lot in the past, but I didn't have him in his breakout year when everybody else had him at a cheap price. So maybe that's just me hoping I get on the train just to make up for that time I didn't have him. He's done well for me in the past, but I just feel like someone like Meredith I like to wait on just because he is that taller type of character. And I'd like to see him get through a few overs not injured until I pull the trigger on him. He tends to start the season quite slow. And that's very similar with a lot of fast bowlers. Like Jai Richardson, if you know he's healthy, he's a lock every single year. But I don't know if he's healthy, so I'm pretty reluctant to pull the trigger on someone like Jai Richardson if he doesn't start the year firing. So, fast bowlers I'm kind of funny with. I guess with the spinners, we know that the spinners can have early overs, and they're not really going to get.
They're not really getting injured, straining themselves, are they?
Yeah, and like I guess players like Mitch Owen potentially gets early overs. And I don't know, it's just weird because like we don't have many genuine quick bowlers in this competition. Henry Thornton is one of them, and I'm quite cold on Henry Thornton at the moment. I don't think he's the type of guy to start with. I don't think the price is that appealing. 98,000 for 30,000 more. Jack Edwards is a lot more appealing, who I think will get 4 overs every single week. He opened the bowling for New South Wales recently with Ryan Hadley. Actually, sorry, that's a lie. Josh Hazelwood opened the bowling, but Jack Edwards was first changed. So they're really putting effort into him to get overs into him. So I think the overs will be there for someone like Jack Edwards.
And I guess just to finish off, I've got Stoinis in there, and then a placeholder. I've got Buckingham. I think he played in the Australia A game. Is that correct? Or
yes.
Was supposed to play in it?
Yeah, he's one of them guys that like for me, he hasn't proved himself a lot at first class level, but they've persisted with him for a few years now. So I think the Big Bash is probably where he can make his mark. So if he gets a few games, he could be a good one, but it's just whether he gets the game time or not.
Yeah. I mean, it's a placeholder, and whoever's come in getting a spot at anything under 60K is going to be in pretty much everyone's team. So with a decent roll, I mean, you're not going to be picking Sam Harper batting at 7 if that's the case.
No, and there's every chance that he does bat at 7. Who's your flex player?
I've got Josh Inglis there at the moment. It's probably going to be him or Jai Richardson. If we get news that Jai Richardson is healthy, it'll probably be him. But yeah, I mean, Inglis, I think playing the double in round 2's probably why I lean that way to then cover my keeping position.
Did you say you had Bo Webster at all?
No, but he's a very interesting one. I mean, he was pretty important the last 2 years in parts. Looks like he's going to bat at 3. Will occasionally bowl. So he's one all-rounder that can go huge, and he's going to be a very big pod, I think, Savs.
Yeah, so 217 points he scored in round 3 last year, 0 points in round 4, 153 in round 5, and then he went 27, 31, and 70 last year. Did he bowl? Wickets bowled. He got 2 wickets last year. No, he got 1 wicket last year. Sorry, 19 dot balls. So not many overs in there for him last year, but he has been bowling a lot more this year, which I like. So I expect a lot more overs from him this year. I guess the thing is he's actually a chance of getting that number 7 spot for Australia for the test side, and he is a slight chance. I think the fact that he's bowling and getting a lot of wickets, Western Australia lost 8 for 1 the other week, and Bo Webster got 6 for 17 or something ridiculous like that.
I did see that. I expected to look at the kind of the scorecard and have some, electric fast bowl, and big Bo Webster was there. I was like, legend.
He's bowling medium pace too, so I don't know what he does, whether he's needed to bowl his pace in the BBL format or whether he bowls spin or not. So I guess that's a little bit of I'm not sure if that's a disadvantage or an advantage for him, but whatever they need, he can do. So I like it. I think he bowls more overs this year. I think he's my number 1 pick to start the year, to be honest.
Big pod.
Pod? How is he a pod?
Well, he's owned by 39%. I didn't even realize that.
Is he actually?
Yes. I'm looking at it now, 39%.
All right, we'll go through the top few owned players. We've gone Glenn Maxwell, Marcus Stoinis at 56% each, Will Sutherland at 50%. So I think that's probably someone I have to pull the trigger on because 132K, his role is awesome. So I like that. Zampa at 48%, Short at 47%, Harper at 40.9%, Jake Fraser-McGurk at 128,000 at 39.7%. I'm not as hot on him as a lot of people are. I think
that's a lot of players just kind of banking off the name of how good he was last year, how he's been lighting it up in kind of all forms. But I mean, bat only, it's an okay price. So I mean, you can't really go wrong. But I don't know. I don't really like bat only players. I know I have Josh Brown, who's pretty much the exact same,
Yeah.
in the same bracket of player as Fraser McGurk. So, I mean, I don't mind it,
I
but
find
I
Josh.
think the ownership's a bit too high.
I started with Fraser McGurk last year, but that was because he hadn't had that breakout year yet. He was at a cheaper price. I think he was like 70K or maybe 60K or
Yeah,
something
it was
like
very
that.
cheap.
But 128K, what he is at now, that's pretty much what he got to when he was after he started last year. So I think there's no value there. I get you're probably paying more for the points, which is okay, but I don't know. I just don't see him getting them big scores, if that makes sense, because I haven't seen him put it together yet.
Yeah, I mean, he did have some all right, pretty big games last year, but you're kind of thinking, does he improve on last year? Like last year, he killed it. He had a lot of low games as well. It's like out for zero. I think got back to back ducks or something in a round. He had a double in, or it was very low scoring. So
Yeah.
yeah,
14 and 26 in round 5 and 6. He scored 73, 90, and 115. Sorry, 73, 90, 2, 115, 14, 26, and then 72 in his last round. It's like for me, it's rocks and diamonds here, and there's not
but you
enough.
can say that about pretty much every bat only
Yeah, you
player.
can.
So I mean, the fact he has a double, you got 2 bites of the cherry of him going massive. So I don't mind it as say your, fifth batsman. So yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah,
But you will have to kind of get rid of him after that because they go into one single and then into a bye. So
yeah, for sure. And then there's Bo Webster, Josh Inglis, Tom Curran, James Baisley, Will Zalzman. They're 11 and 12, but I assume they're placeholders because Jake Doran's number 30.
yeah, or just picked on kind of, all right, everyone's got them. I'll have to pick them. I'm so surprised Bo Webster's at 39%. I did not
Really?
think he'd be that highly owned. I did not think it because I think obviously everyone's loading up on stars who have been terrible for the last couple of years. Everyone's going to have Maxwell and Curran. I don't know if you want to go, 3 160K players from the stars who have been poo. So I'm not, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's bizarre that
I
all three of
think
them are kind of so high owned.
Yeah, I think that's my issue with going too hard on like stars and renegades because there's no standout options here. So I'm pretty happy to go with the premiums of like you Will Sutherland's, Bo Webster's, Maxwell. Pretty happy to fade these guys like Fraser McGurk. Just one question before we do head off, and I've forgotten it already. Oh yeah, I'm surprised with the ownership of Cooper Connolly, 23.9%. He's been batting number 7 and bowling, 2 overs. Do you see any appeal there? Like he's not bottom dollar anymore. He's 118,000.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think what he's kind of priced at is what you're going to get from him. I don't see his role, improving too much. I think he's going to bat in the exact same spot. Actually, he might move up one spot because they lost with Laurie Evans. Was Laurie Evans there last year? Well, no, he
Oh,
went away.
yeah.
So he might move up one spot in the bat, but I think they're still going to have their 5 bowlers. So I don't seem like he might take 1 or 2 overs to bowl, but I don't know. Yeah, unless he's going to be batting right at the top, which is a possibility. He could be opening the batting. I know they trialled with him last year starting and he didn't really work. So he fell into like 6 or 7, which was much more beneficial for him. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's too much for an all-rounder who's only bowling 1 or 2 overs and batting at 7.
Agree. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in, everybody. I think week to week prior to the start of the season, we'll go over some teams and just go over their predicted lineups and go. Hopefully, as the preseason goes on, we learn a bit more. And I think as more cricket plays out, we will know more. Jake, do you have a Melbourne Cup tip for tomorrow?
I do not. I'm not really much of a gambling man, unfortunately. So I can't really. I haven't even looked at the field. I'll go to the tab in the morning and put on a couple of bets. I'll look at the guide and all the odds there, but yeah, I've not looked.
Oh
Tomorrow
no!
morning, just before. Well, actually, I'll probably do it while I'm working. I'll grab the tab. So
I've
few mystery trifectas.
Yeah, I've just looked, and my tip, I had a really good tip, and I was so excited for it, but he's been scratched. Number 10, I don't even know what he was called. The Bascan. Zach Lloyd was riding him, but he's been scratched. So I've got to reassess right here.
Oh no!
Right now, I did have a clear second. I think it was Aikido Sushi. Oh, I don't love that either. Or One Smooth Operator, number 13. But yeah, there's a lot to look there, and now I'm rattled. I'm rattled because I was so confident on my number 10 tip. So, and he was paying $51 too. So,
well, he's definitely not winning now.
Yeah, well, he's not. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Jake, for jumping on, and
thanks, Savs.
Good luck with your preseason building of teams.
Yes, good luck, everybody. Peace.